Hello there. Good to see you. Another Thursday ahead of Super Regional Weekend. If you're watching live on YouTube on the Varsity Channel, I myself, Kyle Schassburger, and David Kahn, who is waving to your beautiful face. Thank you very much for being with us. If you're listening via the old-fashioned audio ways, we're very grateful for your time as well. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those good places where you can get the pod. It's College Sports Now. Interact with us at CS Now Tweets. I'm at Kyle Schass. He's at SportsCon4. Yes, I'm wearing a beautiful shirt, maybe the most beautiful polo I've ever donned or worn on camera. Because it's got me in the mood, man. Vacation starts at 12 noon tomorrow. Granted,
Yes.
I have a 10.5-hour drive to Chicago, but still. And we'll talk road trip snacks here in a second. You're getting on a plane this afternoon, right?
Yep.
'Tis the season, my man.
Yeah.
Remind the people where you're heading this afternoon.
I'm headed to Oregon, not to Eugene. I will not be taking in what should be a fascinating super regional between Oregon and Oral Roberts. I'm going to be in Astoria, Oregon, which is basically on the border between Washington and Oregon. So
is that where stories were invented?
I don't know.
Astoria?
Astoria. I do know that is where the expedition of one Lewis and Clark ended, actually, back in the day. That is a fun fact about Astoria. That's the only thing I know, other than where it's actually located.
Tell them I said hello.
Okay.
Lewis and Clark.
Oh, got it. All right.
Yeah.
Yes, I will.
Tell them I said hi. We're here to talk Super Regionals. We're going to give out some picks. We're going to go through all 8 of the matchups here over the next 52 minutes or so, and I say that meaning 52 minutes or so because Kahn has got to catch a flight.
We're out.
We do have a hard out today. We're not going to go too long. Although, look, even when we give you 90 minutes of luscious college baseball talk, that is very rad, as my hat would indicate. Thank you, Stephen Schock.
Big donkey.
It is quality. We are not quantity here. It is quality stuff. If you missed the earlier episode this week with Ronnie Jones of ESPN, go back one episode in your feed. You can check that out. Colin, I never saw the video come through an email, so I'm sorry I didn't promote or push out any snackable content.
I just put it on box.
Oh, I didn't look there. I didn't go there. I
That's
was waiting to be poked with something in an email to remind me to do it versus like going into it.
Right.
Plus, look, we're I think is it Marilyn Manson who sings the song? The beautiful people, the beautiful people.
Yeah,
I think it
think
is.
so. I think that's right.
Probably before your time.
What do you know? Marilyn Manson.
You know Marilyn Manson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know who that is.
All right, just making sure.
Now, Marilyn Manson was before my time, but I still know who Marilyn Manson is.
All right. Well, I don't know why I associated that song and that lyric with finding a video of Roddy Jones to promote on Twitter. But, look, it exists. It's out there. Roddy was excellent. He spent 20 minutes with us talking about the South Carolina Gamecocks and, their chances in Gainesville against Florida this week. That's one of 8 matchups. South Carolina and Florida, one of 2 SEC Super Regionals. We've got an all-ACC Super Regional as well in Duke and Virginia. South Carolina, Florida, and LSU, Kentucky are the 2 SEC Supers that we have in our hands this weekend. You've got 3 teams that are in the Super Regionals for what, the 3rd straight year? Or 2 teams. You got
Stanford and Texas.
And they're each playing each other.
Yep.
And then you also have a team in Duke. I have a little bit of trivia. You dished out some nifty trivia earlier in the week regarding the Blue Devils. I have some more trivia.
Mine was regarding the Volunteers.
Oh, well, Duke was one of those teams.
Duke was one of those teams.
That's why.
Yes.
Duke was one of those teams to reach a bowl game, reach an NCAA tournament for men's and women's basketball, and also reach the NCAA tournament for baseball and softball.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
There are 4 teams.
Yes.
Tennessee, Duke.
Yep.
Do you remember the other 2?
Alabama.
Yes.
And, I can't remember the 4th one now.
Come on, this was your trivia.
Kill me.
It's 2 days after the fact.
I know. I can't remember the 4th one. I have to look it up. I stand by.
I'll get
filibuster.
I had it in the Duke game notes earlier. So while you look that up, let me just run through the matchups real quick.
Texas.
Texas was the other. We'll circle back and break down. I don't know how in-depth we're going to go because we've already talked so much about these teams. At this point, if you're listening to the pod, you know the pros and cons, the vulnerabilities of each of these squads that remain. The biggest thing is you've got to win 2 out of 3 games. That's what Super Regional Weekend is. That is the format, and then you punch your ticket to Omaha. So we'll go down the left and the right side of the bracket and give our picks real quick because then I want to start with some coaching news. Alabama at Wake Forest this weekend will start on Saturday. All your games on the left side of the bracket are going to start on Saturday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, if necessary. Texas at 8 ranked, or the number 8 national seed, Stanford. Texas at Stanford. The 12 overall seed, Kentucky, at the 5th overall seed, LSU. So Kentucky going to Baton Rouge for the 2nd time this season. And then Tennessee at Southern Miss. Southern Miss hosting not Knoxville, Lindsey Nelson Stadium and the University of Tennessee. So those are your 4 games on the left side. They all begin on Saturday. And then on Friday, number 15, South Carolina at the number 2 overall national seed in Florida. These games all begin on Friday. So if you're listening to this today or watching us right now on Thursday, those games start tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and if necessary, on Sunday. You also have Duke at number 7, Virginia, Oral Roberts at Oregon, Eugene with a super regional that they'll be hosting, and they booted the minor league team, right?
The Eugene Emeralds. They said, get out of PK Park. It's our facility for the weekend. You go find somewhere else to play in your sandbox.
That's amazing. I love that. Oregon hosting their first super regional since 2012. And then the final matchup that will get underway on Friday. Again, 4 supers, and then 4 more will join the party on Saturday. But the last one is TCU and Indiana State. The Sycamores, the number 14 overall national seed, but not hosting. We documented this earlier in the week. There was a lot of hand-wringing and arm-raising and people, being very emotional over the fact that Indiana State, who should be hosting this super regional, would not be because, quite frankly, they don't have the manpower, the hotels, any of the necessary infrastructure that they had available to them. And I'm talking about manpower, I'm talking about infrastructure, I'm talking about community involvement, all the things that would be necessary for Terre Haute, okay, to pull this thing off. I'm trying to walk back my earlier comment. Okay,
yeah,
the Sycamores,
okay.
Man.
Give them some love.
Hey, surefire lock. Just a little. I've already given you one earlier in the week.
Yeah,
Southern
Miss.
We'll see if I decide to go to Fort Worth with another.
All
but
right.
Special Olympics are being held. This is a national Special Olympics?
The Special Olympics of Indiana are being held for the 51st. I don't know if it's the national competition, but they're being held in Terre Haute for the 51st straight year.
51 consecutive years, okay? That's longer than either of us have been around. It's longer than most people, I think, have been around. Some people don't even reach the age of 51, all right? Sorry, not trying to get morbid. Jeez. But, however, that's a big deal. That's going on. And unfortunately, Indiana State, while trying to find a way to still host maybe at an alternative venue in Terre Haute, there are actually NCAA rules in place saying that you can't host a regional at one venue one week and then change it to a different venue the next week. So there's a lot of different qualifications, red tape, if you will, that goes along with the Sycamores. And, it's one of those good lessons in life, as we talked about earlier in the week. There are things bigger than sports, bigger than baseball. A lot of times sports unifies us and brings us together and helps to shine a light on these other things that are so important, to society and to life. And in this instance, it is the baseball team that is at least bringing awareness to what is actually going on in Terre Haute. So the Sycamores are going on the road. I know they made it to Fort Worth on Wednesday.
And the Lupton Drinking Club, by the way, has raised over $25,000 for the Special Olympics of Indiana.
That's awesome.
In honor of the fact that they realized that they should be going to Terre Haute. So that, well done, faithful of TCU and Fort Worth in general for doing that, and well done to the LDC. Super
cool stuff. So that is those are your matchups. We'll circle back and make some picks on there before we get out of here, just before 12 o'clock Eastern. Again, we thank you very much. Michael Surber here today. Find him on Twitter at @L_Surberino. Okay, let's get to some of these coaching changes or hires that we've had over the last week or so. There's 3 of them that you jotted down. I also jotted down 3 of them that I wanted to talk about. They're the same 3. So why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Typical. Well, look, the big one, obviously, is Wes Johnson. He gone. He is now a dog. He's a Georgia Bulldog. He's now the head coach of Georgia, departing after 2 seasons as the pitching coach at LSU. But he will remain with the Tigers for the remainder of their postseason run, however short or long that may be. Jay Johnson saying that earlier in the week. Apparently, the deal, according to Leah Vann, who we've both become tremendous followers of, the deal was done about 5 days before it was announced. But it broke a day early because Jay Johnson said they were planning to tell the team the morning after the regionals ended, and then the news broke. Pete Thamel broke it early, and hell broke loose. So that was the unfortunate part of the way LSU was trying to break the news. But, yes, Wes Johnson is now a Georgia Bulldog, and LSU is looking for a pitching coach.
I've always marveled at how reporters who focus on other sports primarily just all of a sudden parachute down out of nowhere. Like Pete Thamel, who is a massive hire for ESPN the last football season and prying him away from, I think he was with Yahoo, little bit of sports. So
he was everywhere.
I always confused because I listened to actually Dan Wetzel, Pat Forty, and it was Pete Thamel, their college football and even college basketball podcast religiously. And now, it's been Ross Dellinger who's filled the void once Pete Thamel has left. But it's like Thamel doesn't cover college baseball,
right?
And it's not like he was parachuting in or dropping in on the college baseball world for the Brad Bohannon news.
No.
This is him just on I guess it's not a run-of-the-mill, coaching hire. I mean, this guy was a big league pitching coach, just a season ago. But, still, it's just it makes me giggle.
His bio says ESPN college football senior writer.
Yeah.
Insider for College Game Day. None of that has anything to do with baseball.
It makes me giggle that a football guy who's on College Game Day now, too, like you saw him have a presence. It reminds me, and this is some inside base, but this is us nerding out on the broadcast journalist side of it. We'll get back to the coaching hire of Wes Johnson at Georgia in a moment. But it reminds me of, when Adrian Wojnarowski was hired away from Yahoo to ESPN. And you see these guys who are and this really is us nerding out. You see these guys who are primarily writers, journalists, right? They don't have all the camera stuff. They're not, on television, okay? The way ESPN is going to want to be able to use you and promote you across multiple platforms. So when you make that change, you get that bump up. You get that extra zero in your paycheck or whatever it may be. And then you're doing all these TV appearances. You can see the learning curve for a lot of these guys. And Pete Thamel was one just like Woj. They're both excellent at what they do.
Phenomenal.
But two, it's just amazing to see, though, that even the best at their craft as reporters, you put a camera in front of them, you can see there is a transition. They've got to grow into that role to get that camera presence.
There's a learning curve. Yeah.
But yeah, no, sorry. Wes Johnson in Athens now. Where does this leave? Let's start with Georgia.
Okay.
Good hire?
Phenomenal. I mean,
sounds like it was plan B, though.
Well, Georgia was not willing to pay top dollar, which is probably what some of these coaches wanted, to leave their current places of residence to go to Athens. We saw it put out that Georgia was not willing to go over, $600,000 or something? I forget the exact number, but they weren't willing to go for $1 million hire to get that top-tier, more expensive level coach, maybe a Chris Pollard type deal.
So a lot of this stuff can get lost in the weekend because the games take priority, right? Kendall Rogers did tweet at some point this past weekend that there was a handshake deal in place for Justin Hare at Campbell.
Oh.
Justin Hare decided thanks but no thanks.
Wow.
And I think that is the evidence right there, to your point, that Georgia wasn't financially able to meet what Justin Hare was asking for.
Or they just decided not to.
To leave what he built at Campbell.
Yeah.
And there could be some other factors involved for sure. But, Campbell, Justin Hare's been at Campbell since 15. They've won, with this season, I think they're 280 wins. Okay. It's more than 30 per year. They had another regional appearance this year. A lot of people thought they'd come out of the Columbia Regional. Mm-hmm. What he has done for that program, for the Fighting Camels, it's been recognized by all these programs because every time these openings come open at any school across the country, we've seen it with Bama, we saw it with Georgia, we saw it with Missouri. Okay, it's the same list of candidates, right?
Yeah.
And they're all the top mid-major, high-major guys. So I do wonder if Georgia, is 1,000% content with the hire of Wes. I think you have to be. You have to move on from what could have been if indeed Justin Hare of Campbell and Georgia were that close to an agreement or had a handshake deal in place. But Hare is staying put, and now you get Wes Johnson. You get a name. Yeah. It's a trendy name, big league experience, knows the SEC, has been around the league, Arkansas, Mississippi State, I think, at one time too. He's had ties to so many guys that have made it to the big leagues, and that alone, and we saw Paul Skeens decide to come to LSU, okay? So, yeah, I think it's not often that you can miss, if indeed Justin Hare was as closely linked as what Kendall Rogers might have alluded to, it's not often you can miss on your first guy
and then get that guy.
Still hit a home run, because I would call it a home run hire.
Yeah, I agree, and here's the thing. Justin Hare may be looking for that $1 million payday. Guess who's probably going to give that to him? Alabama.
Yeah. Again, that's a sizable increase from what they were paying Brad Bohannon, almost probably close to double or a little less than double from what Bohannon was getting. But if you're Alabama, you have to invest.
Yeah, you have to do that. Your baseball program isn't bad. Yes, you're in a super.
Shame on you. Why are you talking? Why are we not promoting Jason Jackson? What are we doing?
You should be. They should.
This is like Texas and Rodney Terry.
Right. They should promote Jason Jackson. He's put him in a super. They're 2 games away from Omaha. Like, that's correct.
You are part of the problem. You are part of the problem. You are wanting Alabama to go outside the nest, okay, and go poach and bring some other guy who doesn't know anything about the program versus the guy that has been there since the transition, since the awkward exit of Bohannon, okay, when he was gambling, allegedly, okay,
or involved in
suspicious wagering activity, whatever it is. Bohannon's making bets with his bookie, trying to pay off debt in his life, allegedly. And then Jason Jackson, he didn't have the Pete Thamel parachute. No. He was already there.
Yeah.
He was already there. Now they've won 13 and 17, and they're in their first super in 13 years.
Yeah.
Give that guy, especially when Alabama beats Wake Forest this weekend, it's happening. Alabama is beating Wake Forest this weekend. God. It is going down. Andrew Pinckney, he is going to sit on all those Deacons – all those fans, he's going to sit on them with his offense.
There you go.
Okay? And his defensive playmaking abilities.
All right.
That bullpen. Okay, we'll circle back.
Jesus.
Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Got me fired up.
I agree. Jason Jackson deserves to get the job. But as we've seen so many times, the interim guy sometimes gets shafted.
Yeah.
I hope that isn't the case for Alabama's sake, or for Jason Jackson's sake. Anyways, yes, Wes Johnson, home run hire. We saw what he did with Paul Skeens and the LSU staff when they were as injured as they've been. I love it. I think Georgia got a great call, great hire, and I think it'll certainly benefit them, especially on the mound down the road.
Okay, so where does LSU go with their next pitching coach? Because
you brought up a great name in our private chat, and we should discuss it.
They got to do
Corey Muscara.
Yeah,
Wake Forest pitching coach.
Speaking of the Deeks.
Yeah, speaking of the Deeks. But here's the thing. You bringing up the name, the first thing that came to my mind when you said that was, oh yeah, he brings that pitching lab, technology, the analysis, the mentality to a program like LSU with the mind of Jay Johnson. Can you imagine those two in a brain trust? I mean, that's sick. That's insane. Muscara and Jay Johnson. And imagine who from Wake Forest would transfer from the Demon Deacons to LSU to follow their pitching coach. That is tantalizing. But yet you have to do it. I think that's your top guy.
The pitching lab is truly something to marvel at that Wake Forest has. I mean, from all of the gadgets, all of the analytics, all of the data that you can extract from, all of these, measuring every single movement from, your arm angle to your delivery to, how far away your feet are to your stride to, the training and the strength programs and the nutrition and the diet, all these different things. And this is all state of the art. Not every school.
No.
I don't think any school has what Wake Forest has.
Can't afford it.
Yeah, you can't afford it. Now, there are schools that are putting together their own iteration of a pitching lab, sure. But Wake Forest, what they have at their disposal in Winston-Salem, and you're seeing the fruits of its labor with their pitching staff, with an ERA that is just as monstrously belligerent as any we've seen at this point of the season.
Best staff in the country.
Best staff in the country. So, for Muscara to if Jay Johnson, like, it should be the first phone call. Mm-hmm. It seems like a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're Jay Johnson, why would you not pick up the phone?
If he hasn't already talked to him, that's a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem. Yeah. That is. Especially if the deal with Wes Johnson was done in principle maybe 5 days before it became announced, which makes me wonder, too, a little bit on the timing of the Justin Hare situation and how heavily involved or close he was to taking the job at Georgia. But, they should be texting daily.
Oh, yeah.
Jay should be calling him, once at breakfast, once at lunch, once at dinner, 3 times a day.
Hit him up.
Okay?
Blow his phone up.
3 times a day.
And he should be getting the LSU donors to back up the Brinks truck to bring him over.
Yeah, I don't think money's going to be an issue.
No.
I don't think money's going to be an issue. And that's what you worry about, too, for the head man at Wake Forest, Tom Walter.
Yep.
Because, again, if Alabama does decide to invest and go get an outside guy, Walter's still on that list.
Absolutely.
Chris Pollard's still on that list.
He is.
God.
The names out there that we've heard for all these coaching hires are top tier.
Yeah.
And not all of them are mid-majors. So we'll see.
Well, let me look at these matchups. Okay, what coaches could be on so Alabama and Wake's interesting. Mm-hmm. Just for that, I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah.
Greg Byrne, the athletic director for Alabama,
he'll probably be here this weekend,
is getting a front row seat looking at a guy who's probably number 1 on his candidate list to replace or fill the void left behind Brad Bohannon.
Yeah.
And they're playing each other.
Yes.
Oh, man. I hadn't even thought of that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Real-time reaction right there.
And here's the thing. If Walter comes to Alabama, where does Mascara go?
Oh, he's definitely going to LSU. He ain't going to Alabama. He's going to LSU.
How good a relationship do him and Tom Walter have? That could supersede going to LSU. You don't know.
Man. That reminds me
a lot of guys bring their staffs.
Okay, this will be an excellent 30 for 30 one day. The 72 hours in Winston-Salem, how it changed the complexion of college baseball forever.
Oh, man. I see it now. Yes, that's the next docuseries. We talked about this a few weeks ago. This is it. We have come up with it.
It's like when the Colts moved from Baltimore to Indianapolis, and you had the Wallflower moving truck. Was it Wallflower? I think of the band first. But anyways, you had the moving truck in the night. It'd be like Alabama coming down from Tuscaloosa in the dark night in the shadows of Death Valley and just dismantling the Intimidator in right field and bringing it to T-Town with them.
Oh.
Fast forward 20 years later, and it's the Crimson Tide with Tom Walter and Mascara, who have built a 6-time national champion Crimson Tide team.
Wow. Oh.
And LSU has fallen on hard times.
And this discussion will be the prologue at the start of the 30 for 30 because we just spoke that into existence.
Yeah, we'd be like Mad Dog Russo and what's his face? Why am I forgetting the other guy? We'd be like these two just titans, these two giants.
Yes.
You've
already been called a Titan before.
I have been.
When you interviewed Enrique Bradfield.
Enrique Bradfield Jr. actually called me a Titan.
Yes.
He's like, just two Titans.
Yeah.
Mastering the crap. No, those are my words. Okay, let's move on from Georgia. That was some hype conversation.
It was.
We got 30 minutes left, Kahn.
That's all right. We got time. We can make these picks in record time.
Okay.
These other two teams, I want to talk about Missouri first. Carrick Jackson, hired from Memphis to come and coach the Missouri Tigers, placing Steve Beiser. Carrick Jackson, the first black head baseball coach in SEC history. That's a great moment for the conference. Well done. I didn't realize that until I saw it put out there, but that's amazing.
That was my first suspicion, which is kind of sad, but also I think very revealing again of us at least acknowledging major steps being taken in society, in the profession, the equity, the equality, all of those things, and being an equal opportunity employer and not discriminating based on somebody's color. But my first initial thought was, have we had a black coach in the SEC? I was hoping with the Jackson news, I was hoping we weren't, because we can have that first trailblazing, defining moment in the sport and in Southeastern Conference baseball to get a person of color in as the head man. Like, that is awesome. And that's why I love this hire so much, not just because he's black, but because of Missouri going out thinking outside the box, knowing how limited they are from a resources standpoint, how they're the outpost of the SEC when it comes to baseball and really a lot of other sports. But, we'll focus on baseball. They don't fit in, kind of. They're the rat-headed stepchild. They're kind of like, there was that joke when I was growing up as a kid, like, your dad was the milkman that would come over and drop the milk on the front porch for Ma every day. Like, the milkman was a lucky dude, let me tell you, okay? Because he wasn't living in the house every day. He just came over, every couple days.
Right.
And he, he got what he needed.
Yeah.
And Ma did too. But in this case, Mr. Jackson, coming to Mizzou, he knows the state. He went to high school in St. Louis, has some JUCO community college ties. He's coming directly over from Memphis, which, not a gaudy record, not really a good record, but he's got a track record of rebuilding,
right,
of turning things around, and that is exactly what this Mizzou teams need. This Mizzou team needs is a jolt of energy, a fresh perspective, new personality, culture builder, somebody that can come in and flip this thing on its head over a 2 to 3 year period, but really instantly, because you go back to his years at Southern University in Baton Rouge. Mm-hmm. He had a team that won 9 games in 2018, won 9 games. The very next year in 2019, Southern won 32 games. They won the conference championship, they won the tournament championship, and went to the NCAA tournament. That is a 23-game differential year over year. And he did it at Southern in the SWAC. Okay? Now this guy's at Mizzou. Mizzou wasn't terrible.
No.
That's the thing.
They made it to Hoover.
They got to Hoover. Okay?
Yeah.
And they hadn't been there in years, but they got to Hoover. And they came out guns a-blazing. They walked off TCU. They had tons of confidence. They had one of their best.
Tennessee.
Had one of their best home records at Taylor Stadium in forever. Attendance was increasing. The energy was there in Como. It just kind of fizzled down the stretch.
Yeah, they had a lot of injuries. I mean, look, the hire of Carrick Jackson is exactly what you said. It is a reset button for Mizzou, but they bring in a guy who knows how to hit the reset button and has had success. So a lot of these players will buy in to what this guy in Carrick Jackson is selling.
Right.
So I love the hire. I think it's great to go outside the SEC to bring somebody in, a fresh face, a new perspective, someone who's been around college baseball and has seen what the SEC has done but not directly been involved with the conference. I think it's a great hire.
Yeah, awesome. Another home run hire, I think. Just the outside-the-box approach. Mm-hmm. And to bring somebody in. Again, this isn't some affirmative action type thing.
No.
Like, hey, I'm hiring.
This was their guy.
They're hiring a guy that is right for the job. He is a fit. His credentials, purely alone, don't look at his skin color. What he has done at other places and his charisma and his personality and his no-nonsense attitude, but the energy and the culture and the swag, everything that goes into it. Like, players like this guy. Mm-hmm. But he comes in and he flips the culture and he hits the reset button, as you said, and he's done it at other stops. I think this is exactly what Mizzou needs. And when we were talking the other day, earlier in the week, we were talking about Nick Mingione and what he's done since he became the head coach at Kentucky in 2017. Like, I think Missouri can use that model. Use that model of what – and maybe it's not the same style of play. I don't know enough about
Depends on the guys you have.
Yeah, it depends on your personnel.
Mingione builds his team around chaos offensively with small ball. Like, you don't know if Missouri can do that with Carrick Jackson.
Depends who he brings in, right? Like, how is he going to flush that roster, with talent? But what I'm saying is whether that's a chaotic style of play, which I think is the best kind of way if you're looking for early returns. Like,
it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. You're taking this aggressive, hard-nosed, gritty approach, and you're kind of overcoming the limitations of the talent that you might have your roster. But, look, every single day you go out to the ballpark, nobody's going to play harder than you. Nobody's going to play tougher than you. And if you can win that, walking off the bus, kind of like I was thinking about this with Duke. When we had Chris Edwards on earlier this year, like, Duke looks like a football team. They're one of those baseball teams that is just monstrous, and they win. They win the award for most yoked team, most football-looking team when they walk off the bus. Like, they've already they can get in your head. And if you're a team that can play with that style, as Kentucky does, like, you're a pest, and opponents have to plan for that. So I don't know enough about Jackson's previous styles of play. But we'll see. Like you said, it depends on personnel. But if you're just purely looking on the ascension of Kentucky under Mingione, you're looking at that as a case study to tell yourself at Mizzou, for Jackson to tell his guys, and I'm sure he told his AD, hell, Memphis, being at Memphis the last couple of years, like, he is immersed in Tennessee and Kentucky fans,
yes.
Okay, in his state. And Tennessee fell on very hard times too, and look where Vitello. It's another one, but Tennessee is kind of a different when it comes to resources and
There's
fan
still
base
a blue blood program in college athletics.
It's a little bit different. Okay, I think you can have a quicker turnaround at Tennessee than you can Kentucky
because you have the resources to do so. Yeah.
But what both of those coaches have done, they've proved in the SEC. Again, easier for Tennessee. That's why I'm focusing on Kentucky. Look, you can be in the cellar. You can be in the basement. You can go from the outhouse. You don't need to get to the penthouse. You just need a seat at the table. And Kentucky has proven that under Mingione, and I think Jackson can take a lot out of Mingione's playbook to Como.
Yeah, here's the selling point for Carrick Jackson as the new head coach at Missouri when he's recruiting guys to come to Missouri. Hey, I'm rebuilding this program. I'm from the studs. We're kicking it all down, and we're starting from scratch. You're a big piece of that puzzle, and I want you to do that. That's enticing for a player because here's the thing. All these players are playing college baseball, yes, to win conference championships and go to Omaha and whatever, but they're playing to get to the next level. Yeah. And when teams are looking at guys to draft, yes, they are looking at talent, of course, but they're also looking at character, and they're also looking at how they fit in a program and how they blend in the clubhouse. if you get guys that are team guys like Carrick Jackson's going to go out and try and get to come together and build this new program, that's a huge feather in the cap of any of those players who's getting ready to go to the MLB.
And the fact, just to close the loop on this, and we'll move to the third hire that we want to discuss, and Brian Green leaving Washington State and going to Wichita State. Kentucky being a case study, it's more about the SEC and its dominant. Like, that's the point that can't be understated. The SEC is the king when it comes to college baseball. Like, that's just the reality of the situation. The depth, the amount of teams, the facilities, the resources, the talent, the coaching salaries, everything. It exists to the highest degree, 1 through 14, 1 through 16 in another year, with Oklahoma and Texas, mind you. So Missouri is where in 16 teams? Last. Let's be real.
They're last every year. They're predicted to finish last almost every year.
Predicted to, and if it weren't for Ole Miss and Mississippi State's troubles,
they would have been.
They would have been. Okay, but in terms of hype, expectations too, fan investment, all of that. Mizzou is fighting such an uphill battle. So to see a team like Kentucky who's done what they've done under Mingione, that can give you some confidence that, hey, this can be done. We can flip this in 3 to 4 years and at least become relevant. You don't need to be the top team. So if Jackson can get them to a place, let's say 3 years from now, God, you're dealing with Oklahoma and Texas on top of it.
Doesn't make it easier.
Man, that is just but if you can get where you're a consistent fixture in Hoover and you're getting to the NCAA tournament every other year, maybe you got 2 seasons in a row, take a year off,
Yeah.
That's got to be the plan. That's got to be the plan.
I agree. Just get back to Hoover, win a game in Hoover if you're Missouri. There's incremental steps you can take as a program to continue to build yourself up and get more resources, get more of those high-level players to want to come play for you because they see the ascension of this program and they want to be a part of that. They want to be the team that knocks off the Tennessees, the LSUs, the Alabamas, the Floridas. They want to be a part of that group that says, no. Your time's done. It's our time to shine.
Yeah.
They want to be a part of that group. See, but you have to show the progress and the work that's being put in first. That'll be year 1 for Carrick Jackson. As for Wichita State, hiring Brian Green away from Washington State, who was the darling of the dance in February. I mean, we saw them come out scorching hot. We're like, oh, are the Cougars going to be a problem? Well, no, they didn't make the Pac-12 tournament. So they fizzled. But intriguing hire. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't think it's horrible, but I don't know if I necessarily maybe it's only who Wichita State could go get. But Wichita State had a pretty solid year in the American.
Yeah, it wasn't awful.
No, they ran ECU out of Kansas. I mean, that was
do
nuts.
they have a South Carolina problem where they have unrealistic expectations of how good they should be year in and year out?
Maybe.
I mean, they've only won 1 title. South Carolina actually was our last repeat winner, so at least they've won a couple. But
maybe.
Wichita State's national championship came in 1989.
Yeah.
The year after I was born. Now, they've been to Omaha 7 times total, but I don't believe they've been here, and I'm looking at sort of an outdated. When's the last time you recall them being there? Because I'm seeing
Omaha?
I'm seeing 1996.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I was 2 years old in 1996. The last time they.
So they have 7 appearances in Omaha all time. Their last being in 96. Super regionals 2, 07 and 08. So 08 was the last time they got as close. Because I do recall, in high school, the Wichita State brand, still pumping their chest out in a way where they thought they were an elite high major school. I had a guy I went to high school with when I was a freshman. He went on a baseball scholarship to Wichita State, and I'm like, man, the Shockers, beyond the mascot, that's so cool, Tournament championships, regular season championships, let's see, last one, 2010, when they were in the Missouri Valley.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what they were really trying to do or who they think they are, and I don't know. I like Brian Green.
I do too.
I like what he did, and I think a lot of things.
He's well respected at Washington State.
A lot of things of what we said about Carrick Jackson in terms of, I think, being an ultimate motivator, understanding the kids, being a player's coach, being cool, being fun, being tough, and getting his kids to buy in uniquely. I think a lot of that travels to Pullman.
Yeah.
and what Green had been able to do over, the duration of his stay. How long was he in Pullman now? I've got the release. He was 91 and 79.
3 years, 4 years?
4 seasons.
Yeah.
29 wins this past year. That matched the most for – didn't even realize this. Those 29 wins matched the most for Washington State since when? Give me a guess. Most wins in how many years? 29 at Washington State. And you don't have to go back that far.
Okay. I mean, probably like 15?
2010.
Yeah. So
13 years.
Yeah.
Most wins in 13 years.
Jeez.
Just reading from the release from
Right.
Wichita State, because this will give us some good background, so forgive me. Green revitalized the program at his alma mater, New Mexico State, prior to Wazoo, authoring college baseball's biggest turnaround in 16. So they went – so here's another guy, okay, like Jackson, when he was at Southern, 9 wins to all of a sudden 32 wins in a one-year span. At New Mexico State, Green inherited an 11-38-1 team. That's what they went his first year. And then the very next season led them to a 34-23 season. So a 23-win improvement.
Yeah.
35-20 in 17. And then in 2018, New Mexico State, this is before he took the Wazoo job, New Mexico State went 40-22, claimed their first WAC title, advanced to the regionals for the first time in what was 5-6 years, and then went 38-17 in his final year before coming to Pullman. So
Which, here's the thing. They need a guy like that because as soon as their coaching change happened at Wichita State, 34 players hopped in the transfer portal. The only one who hasn't is Peyton Toll.
an all
Who's the
Shass
biggest
selection.
name. Yes. He's sticking with
He's
Wichita
an ass
State.
man.
Yes. Yes. So
You know what I read about? Okay, so I was
Brian
going
Green
to.
needs to rebuild from the ground up because all these players are saying, I don't know.
There might not be a better guy to do it for one reason and one reason only.
Okay.
His Crimson RV.
Oh.
My man's got an RV.
Oh.
My man drives.
Wow.
He loves to drive.
Okay.
Okay? He is taking in his RV the 1,658-mile drive from Pullman to Wichita.
Really?
And while he's on that drive, he will make whatever detour necessary to stop at every single one or as many of those 34 players that have put themselves in the transfer portal
Yeah.
to make FaceTime and make nice
Okay.
to get them
Love it.
back
Good
in
for
a
him.
Shockers uniform.
I love it.
So
That's awesome.
He's using his RV,
Yes.
and he's going to parade himself and his family around going door to door
Yes.
in the portal.
Yes.
He's jumping feet first in the portal, man.
Fantastic.
He's trying to pry those guys back using
Fantastic.
using his RV as the main instrument there.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, we'll
yeah.
see what happens.
It's one of those weird programs.
Yeah,
Like the state of their program. Let me pull up their schedule.
You know what? For what they are able to get, I think it works. But Brian Green has a heavy task ahead of him.
I think I would be curious what the fan reaction, and get at us on Twitter if you're listening and you know a little bit more about the Wichita State fan base. Please interact with us at CS Now Tweets, at Kyle Schass, at SportsCon4.
It's been a while since I've taken the trip to Kansas.
Yeah, I just what is the temperature of Wichita State baseball and their fans, and are they?
I don't know.
We'd have to do some deeper digging. Are they happy with this hire? Because based on everything we just kind of talked about, we think it's a team that expects a whole heck of – for you to fire your coach, just this past year after 35 wins.
Yeah.
And
And
make
now
a
you go get a
change.
rebuilder. Like, you're not getting a guy – I mean, he's been successful, but he's a guy who comes in and redoes a program with his standards and his style. Not someone who's ready to win now, but maybe win in 4 more years, right?
Yeah.
And if Wichita State is really as this high and mighty, Goliath pound-my-chest type program – they don't want that. They want a guy who comes in year 1 and says, we're going to Omaha. I don't know if Brian Green's that. I mean, he could.
COVID year 13-2.
Yeah, I don't know if Brian Green is the guy who says we're coming in year 1 and going to Omaha. That's the dream. But will it happen? I mean, I don't know. Especially with the American being usually a 1-bid league. Thank you, Tulane, for making it a 2-bid league this year. But, of course, they're both out.
Yeah, I'm going back to 19, 18.
Yeah,
they're always hovering in the. They had 21 wins 2 years ago.
Okay,
so that was their worst showing. Okay, under the previous regime. 35,
they're around, yeah.
35 wins this year, but 31 in 2021, 13-2 during the 2020 COVID-shortened year, 28-31 in 19, 35 wins in 18. I mean, they're just kind of always hovering around the 30-win mark.
Okay.
But it's just maybe they're just cloaked in mediocrity. And again, thinking what the potential is. Yeah. Maybe there's that sleeping giant type, I
don't know. We'll see.
Persona or approach. But okay.
All right. We got about 15 minutes before we got to get out of here. Here's how I would suggest we do this. Let's reveal our 8 for Omaha, our new 8 for Omaha, because some of our
Are we allowed to do a new 8? I know I lost 3. Well, you lost so many.
I kept the original.
You lost 3.
I lost 5.
Okay.
The original 3 that I had, I still kept. I did not change those. So any ones that I'd already picked that are still in, I picked them again. So I didn't change any of that.
So you get to pick 5 new?
Yes.
And I get to pick 3 new.
Yes. Okay. So I say we reveal our 8 for Omaha, and then any ones we disagree on, we delve into a little bit more.
Okay, sounds good. You want to start? Again, the game's on the right side of the bracket. Well, you reveal your 8, but again, games on the right side start Friday. South Carolina, Florida, Duke, Virginia, Oral Roberts, Oregon, TCU, Indiana State. That's played in Fort Worth. The other games on Saturday, again, best 2 out of 3 series. This is the left side of the bracket, Supers. Alabama, Wake Forest, Texas, Stanford, Kentucky, LSU, Tennessee, Southern Miss. Give me your teams you had right so far that are still around. The
Wake
3
Forest,
teams.
LSU, and Florida.
Okay.
So I have all those advancing. The other ones, I have Texas making their record in continuing 39th appearance in Omaha. I have Tennessee ending the era of Scott Berry in Southern Miss in Baseburg, as they're calling it. Virginia takes out Chris Pollard and the Dukies in Charlottesville. They get revenge for that series back in late April. The Cinderella of the tournament, Oral Roberts, goes back to the College World Series. And TCU stays red hot and takes out Indiana State. Those are my 8 for Omaha, along with Wake Forest, Florida, and LSU. Those are my 8.
Okay.
Who you got?
Oral Roberts I had to double check what year they were in the College World Series. So it's 1978.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
But
they've been a postseason mainstay. Like they're not a newbie.
No, they've been there.
They're not new to the party of being on this stage. I like that. Okay. I was correct with Wake Forest and Alabama, so those stay put. I also hit on Texas.
Yeah, but who did you pick for Omaha?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Wake Forest, I have moving on.
Okay.
So I have – but
if you want to switch it, go ahead.
I think Alabama wins.
If you got here, I'll say this. If you got both teams right in the original regional pick, you can switch.
Okay, I'm switching.
I'll say that. Okay.
All right, here we go. Alabama comes to Winston-Salem this weekend and knocks off the Deacs in 3 games.
Oh, yeah. It's going to need 3 games.
Alabama.
Yeah.
Roll Tide, roll.
All right.
Roll Tide.
Okay. I think you're dead wrong, but all right.
Dude. Cody Shelton, Drew Williamson, Andrew
I
Pinkney,
saw
Tommy
that team.
Seidel,
I know.
Jim Jarvis.
They're good.
Dude, their staff is stepping up, too, with Holman and McMillan and
McNary's the shining star.
God,
they're amazing. We'll discuss.
I'm worried about Sean Sullivan. I think
What are you worried about?
I don't think he's been the same dude.
Well, they're bringing him out of the pen now. They're starting Keener.
Yeah.
Who's electric.
Do you start Keener game 1, though? Because Louder's –
Nope, you start Louder game 1.
And it's regular rest.
Yep. You have to start Louder game 1. It doesn't matter.
Right.
I was discussing this with someone at Wake Forest yesterday at the happy hour upstairs. You have to get that game 1 lead.
Yeah.
Because then it's all the pressure on Alabama.
Yeah, this isn't the regional.
Yes. Because guess what? If you're winning in game 2, you can go Hartle, Keener, Muscolo, Sullivan, Manasseh, and just run Alabama down with pitchers. You can just bludgeon them and win it in 2.
Watch out for my guy Hunter, a.k.a. Nelly
Furtado. Wake Forest transfer, Hunter Furtado.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. God, the Wake Alabama ties.
Yes. Anyways, I think best pitching staff in the country. I mean, the tickets are going for $400. $400.
Is this real life?
Yes.
Is this real life?
This is happening.
Baseball town.
Yes. Deke Town is alive and well. Deeks win. Go to Omaha.
Wake Forest in 308 as a team. Alabama 295. Tied of 113 of 17. Okay.
Anyways, continue.
All right.
Stanford, Texas. Who do you have?
I am. Let me write these on my new.
Okay.
Okay.
You're picking
I'm
Alabama.
going with Alabama.
All right.
Texas and Stanford.
Yep.
I had A&M winning this.
Okay.
So did I. They didn't escape the farm.
Yeah.
Give me Stanford.
Oh, we disagree again. Okay, all right, let's discuss. Why Stanford?
The fact that they delivered the knockout punch the way they did against Texas A&M.
With Quinn.
Yeah, with Quinn Matthews, his versatility in being used and just the gamer that he is and putting it all out there in the offense top to bottom. I mean, they delivered. And again, who was it from earlier in the week? I gave you Stanford's Tommy Troy, man.
Yeah,
3
amazing.
home runs
like
last weekend,
571 in the
RBIs.
regional. Yeah, he was crazy.
Yeah, dude. Give me David Esker and them boys.
I had some trouble figuring this one out because both these teams are looking for a third straight trip to Omaha. Stanford, Quinn Matthews, electric, came back in the final game, out of the bullpen. They got great performances from Drew Dowd, Nick Duggan, and Ryan Bruno. They've hit 11 homers this postseason. Like, the Cardinal are scorching. But how do you pick against a team that's been to Omaha more than anybody else? And that's Texas. This would be their 39th appearance, their third straight trip. They only allowed 4 homers in the regional for Texas in 3 games. And their starting pitching was phenomenal. Remember LeBaron Johnson, MVP of the regional? He threw a complete game.
Yeah.
I mean, they look so good. Zane Morehouse, back end of that pen, he's Cam Manassi light. I mean, he was disgusting. So give me the horns. Hook them to Omaha again.
LSU, Kentucky. Got the Tigers?
Yep. We're good there. No need to discuss.
Okay. Southern Miss and Tennessee.
I know you're picking Southern Miss, so we have to talk. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Sass goes Southern Miss.
I got the Golden Eagles.
Okay. Regale me. Why is Scott Berry going to Omaha?
I mean, why? It's the Corky Berry all over again in 09, man.
Sure.
It's the swan song. They're continuing to feed off this momentum. They have won, is it 23 of, let me look back
23 of 26.
23 of 26 that they have won. They're getting to host, and they failed. They did not hold up to their end of the bargain in Baseburg
last year,
a year ago, when Ole Miss came and got that ass. And then got that trophy as well. Okay,
that big trophy.
I think Southern Miss is more battle tested. They've got dudes that have been on this team for what feels like 9 years.
Yeah.
Okay. I think of Montenegro. Like, that dude has been around certainly.
Slade.
Yeah. Slade Wilkes. Who's my guy with the beard? Eskel? Did you see the image of his face?
Yes. You showed me.
Oh, my God.
And Dustin Dickerson is
Dustin Dickerson
is
just, he's insane. He's insane. Tanner Hall, like, come on. I love it. I love the unis. I love the oversized, just obnoxious numbers on their backside.
Okay.
Like, give me everything. Okay. Scott Berry, let's go. Pour one out. He's getting to Omaha.
Here's my question for Southern Miss. Dustin Dickerson, ridiculous.
I don't know if they can hit the Tennessee pitching staff. Yes.
No, that's not the question.
Oh, gosh.
Can the pitching staff keep down Tennessee's lineup? Because they're hitting well. Justin Storm, Billy Oldham, Willie Armistead. Can you hold down
Even
Tennessee?
Blake Burke had a hit. That guy had been slumping so much.
Besides Tanner Hall, who can step up? They stepped up in the Auburn Regional. Can they do it again against a very, very potent that can hit at any time, even down to their final strike multiple times, Tennessee Volunteers offense? Here's the thing about Tennessee. What's been the knock on Tennessee all year? It hasn't been their offense. What have we been worried about with Tennessee? What specific group have we been worried about for Tennessee all year?
The pitching staff.
Yes, the starting pitching.
Yeah.
Guess who pitched exceptionally in the regional? Andrew Lindsay, Chase Burns, Drew Beam, Seth Halverson. All of them were phenomenal in Clemson. And even the Dolander was sizable. He was serviceable.
Yeah.
They all pitched really well. And Tennessee is pissed that they are not hosting. They are coming in angry. They're coming in aggressive. Give me the balls.
They earned it this past weekend.
They did.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Going to Clemson.
Watch the walks, though. Chase Burns did walk 4 in 6 1/3 in the regional.
All right, right side of the bracket.
Yep.
Florida and South Carolina.
Yep. Florida for me.
Florida for me as well.
Okay. On we go.
Duke or Virginia?
I picked Virginia. I know you're picking Duke.
Yep, I got Duke. So
all right, tell me about it.
You've got 2 freshmen All-Americans out of the bullpen in James Talon, Andrew Healy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those two have been the Duke pitching
Talon didn't pitch in the regional.
Talon didn't even. Yeah, he didn't have to.
Yeah.
And he's up for Stopper of the Year.
Yep.
He didn't have to pitch.
I didn't notice that till today. I was like, wait a minute, he hasn't pitched in like.
I mean,
2
they
weeks.
scored so many dang runs. It wasn't necessary. And Charlie Bielenson has a rubber arm.
Yes.
Guess how many games this guy, he now owns the Duke record.
Right.
Single season record for most appearances in a single season.
Jeez.
Guess how many appearances that is.
It's gotta
I don't
be
know how this is
It's got to be
possible.
like 30-something, right?
It's 36.
Yeah.
36
That's
appearances.
Nuts.
Like, what are we doing? Duke is 18-0 when scoring 10-plus runs.
Okay.
Seeking their 4th College World Series appearance, first since 1961. 52, 53, and 61. Here's my trivia for you. Duke is one of 2 ACC programs, but as a Dookie, I don't acknowledge North Carolina.
Right.
So we'll say Duke is one. I'm just being honest. Duke is one of 4 teams, okay,
Yeah.
to have at least, I'll put it to you this way. There are 3 teams since 2018 with more super regional appearances than Duke.
Okay.
Duke is here for the 3rd time.
Yeah.
They lost in Lubbock.
Yeah.
And they lost in Nashville.
Yeah.
Okay, in 18 and 19.
Yeah.
What 3 teams do you believe have more super regional appearances than Duke, who has 3, and UNC since 2018?
Arkansas.
That's 1.
Texas.
Yes.
And
it really is not that hard of a question, given
Yeah.
that we were just talking about
right.
all these teams' trips.
Yeah. Arkansas, Texas. Who was the 3rd one? Stanford.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So, but just seeing it in writing, you
Right.
know, on paper is one thing. How can that pitching staff, though, neutralize a Virginia offense that just showed up in such a monstrous way this past weekend? Not to mention, Virginia got tremendous starting pitching from Eddington, Parker, and Early.
Yep.
But Virginia, 13-1 since dropping 2 out of 3. That series-clinching loss against Duke on that Sunday.
And
just
what
last
is Duke? 7-9.
Duke had their worst month was May.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I think they were 4-6 or something.
Yeah, they went 0-2 in the ACC tournament.
Or 4-8 overall. Yeah. Duke had an awful May.
So
and we've
bad.
talked about it.
Yeah.
Like ever since we had Chris Edwards on, they won the Virginia series and then boom.
Yep.
They were done.
That's
it was
it.
the exam break and they were dead.
Bye.
Can they neutralize Kyle Teal, UVA hits leader, 13 home runs, still running with his hair on fire and his helmet flinging off in every which direction. I don't know. It's going to be so much fun. Virginia hasn't a lot. So Duke scoring all these runs, 18-0 when scoring 10+. Virginia, during this 14-game stretch where they've won 13 out of 14, no opponent has scored more than 8 runs in any of those games. It's going to be phenomenal, but give me the Dukies.
Yeah, can Duke get to Virginia's pitching, who was so good in the regional in Charlottesville? Because you look at some of those numbers as I pull them up here real quick. Brian Edgington, 5 hitless against Army. Nick Parker, 7 innings, 1 run against ECU. Connolly Early, who didn't pitch in that series against Duke in April, 6 1/3, 10 Ks versus ECU in the decider.
Yeah, that
Cliff
dude was
Godwin
nasty.
called Virginia's offense the best in the country right now.
Yeah.
Kyle Teal, you mentioned it.
Well, he
583
didn't
in the
see
regional.
TCU, but
He didn't. But I mean, wowzers! Virginia's 35-4 at home. I think Duke. This was the hardest one for me to pick. I saw it from both sides. I flip-flop back and forth. Give me Virginia just for the home crowd.
Okay.
Give me Virginia. I know Duke's the Road Warriors, but give me Virginia.
I'm taking ORU with you as well.
Yep,
Winning
ORU.
in Eugene. Just love the story. Give me the 4 seed. Be the
That's
third. Be the third ever. Would be the third ever 4 seed. Fresno in 08, who won it all. Stony Brook in 12. You can put Oral Roberts in 2023. It's going down in Eugene. Jonah Cox, 424 average, 10 homers, 27 stolen bases. He and Matt Hogan each have 65 RBIs. Hogan with 17 dongs, 338 hitter. 5 with 10-plus dingers on the year.
Yes.
This team is offensively unchallenged, but 2, they're among the top 10 nationally in WHIP. Hits allowed per 9. Win-loss record, obviously, all that speaks for itself. They have won 21 straight games and 39 of 42. So we're both with ORU. And then finally, you said TCU?
Yep.
Just for sake of going against you.
Oh, you're picking Terre Haute.
Indiana State joining Oral Roberts.
Wow.
Both of them advancing to Omaha.
Let's go.
There's no way TCU can sustain this offensive integrity.
Absolutely
it can't happen.
they can.
Not against Indiana State. Dude, they are deep. They are deep.
I know.
They got enough arms. Plus Mitch Hannes, the head coach of Indiana State.
Yeah.
And I just, using all of this as further inspiration and motivation that they're not hosting a super, they'll play in a parking lot if they had to. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a no problem. It's not an issue for this team.
Yep.
Mitch Hannes played for the one team that made it to Omaha at Indiana State. Mitch Hannes was a player on that team, 1986. I think that's going to help even more to provide the potion necessary to somehow, solve the riddle that is TCU in this offense. Give me Indiana State.
TCU's won 9 straight averaging nearly 12 runs a game, 10-plus runs in each of the 3 games in Fayetteville. The offense doesn't stop. Horned Frogs hopping to Omaha.
I'm at Kyle Schass. He's at SportsCon4 at L_Cerberino. If you want to check him out, he did just walk by our windows. Heading to lunch. Heading to lunch with the boys. I mean, come on, man.
Guy.
Dude, what are you doing? Priorities.
I know.
All right, you're hopping on a plane. I'm getting in a car, driving to Chicago. Golf with the boys this weekend. Big golf trip. I'll be in Chicago for about 10 days. Got another 2-day detour in there. Can't talk about that, but excited.
Nope.
Anyways, best road trip snack. You're a big airplane guy, so you don't take many long road trips.
No.
But, however, we did drive back from Hoover.
Yes.
And you got the beef jerky, which I'm not opposed to, but it was garlic.
I know. I sealed it back up. I didn't realize it would release such a potent smell. I'm sorry.
All right, well, help me get through my trip. What?
Oh God.
Well, you already know me enough.
I mean, I'm a standard, chips or fruit snacks guy.
You think I'm putting chips into this body?
No, you're not. So you're gonna have 4 protein shakes and 5-hour energies.
Protein, 5-hour energy, Monster, Copenhagen,
bars
maybe
or
Quest bar, maybe a little bit of jerky.
You.
Yeah. I can't do a meal because I can't sit.
No,
I can't sit on my booty
with the meal.
Driving with the meal, just
yes.
doing somersaults in my belly. So, all right, check Kahn out. Check me out on Twitter again at CS Now Tweets if you want to find the show. We'll be back on Tuesday.
Okay.
I think we're recording late on Monday night, but we'll have some to your feed Tuesday as we recap what is a super regional weekend. We'll have the 8 set for Omaha when we return. Enjoy the weekend. Have a super regional fiesta. That's it for CSN. Bye.
Bye.